A man finds himself falling in love with a woman who's being haunted by a vengeful spirit. Will he continue to follow his heart even if it means living with his fear of ghosts for the rest of his life?
Hello and welcome to our channel. Today we'll recap and review a South Korean horror romantic comedy film, Spellbound.
A street magician named Jogu is aware that his tricks are just average and needs to step up his skills if he really wants to be famous. One night, while performing his show, he notices a grim-looking woman in the audience. No matter how much his audience laughs at his tricks, she remains gloomy all throughout his show. This piques his interest and he unexpectedly gets inspiration for his new gimmick, a horror movie show. Despite being afraid of her demeanor, he builds up the courage to invite her to his team. This may be the best decision he's done in his life since her addition to the team guaranteed the success of his magic shows. A year passed and he's become a famous magician and left the street to perform on theater stages. Despite being colleagues, Yuri, the girl who turned his life around, remains reclusive from him and the rest of the team. Yuri doesn't necessarily hate them or like being alone. She's just harboring the darkest secret that anyone could have.
Well, it's not that much of a dark secret. She doesn't keep humans in her basement, and she's not a psychotic killer who enjoys hunting people. Okay, this is more like a regular secret. She has the ability to see and communicate with ghosts.
Because of this, she tries so hard to push everyone away to save them from the same fate. Well, her efforts are not really successful when Jogu still persistently invites her to join their team dinner despite her constant rejection all throughout the year. One day, he manages to push the right buttons and she unexpectedly accepts his invitation for the first time. She finally has company she can drink with and she thoroughly enjoys every minute of it. She drinks to her heart's content and starts to act out. The blind, drunk Yuri, who didn't even engage in a casual conversation with any of them for over a year, starts to berate their own boss, Jogu, and calls out his perfect yet shallow life. She even reveals how lonely her life is while ripping his clothes apart and revealing his chest for the whole pub to see. To be fair, she told them that she acts out when she's drunk. She gave them a warning, so this is technically his fault. After this strange behavior, she politely leaves the pub while her chest-naked boss and the rest of her colleagues couldn't believe what they just saw and heard. She wakes up the next day and is full of regrets when she remembers what kind of disaster she brought upon their team dinner. She calls Jogu and apologizes for her misbehavior. While the two of them are talking, she drops the call when she notices a ghost inside her room, one she's familiar with. After hearing a stranger screaming at the end of her line, Jogu grows concerned and decides to visit her house to check on her. While on his way to leave, he sees a ghost child in a corner. Thinking it's a human child, he plays hide and seek with him, unaware of the horror he has to live with for acknowledging its presence. That night, the child follows him home and scares the living daylights out of him. He calls Yuri for help and she obliges. When she finds the ghost child, they discover that he's been asking for help to save his father from a car accident all this time. After successfully helping his father to get some help, the lost soul finally gets his peace. After this experience, Yuri finally confides with Jogu and reveals how she got this unwanted ability. Back when she was still in high school, Yuri and her best friend Juhi were in a bus accident. Both of them are on the verge of dying, but only one responder noticed their bodies at that time. Since they're both running out of time, the responder had to immediately choose which among them he will save. After seeing a sparkle from the necklace that Yuri's wearing, he decides to save her first. The responder tries to save Juhi, but he's too late, as she already died. Juhi becomes a vengeful spirit as the necklace that Yuri was wearing is hers and she thinks she should have been the one saved by the responder. Feeling miserable about this cruel fate, Juhi's ghost has decided to make Yuri's life a living nightmare by following her around to relentlessly haunt her and the people who get close to her. Not only does she have to live with the ghost haunting her, but she also has to live with the fact that no one will ever want to have her around. More and more dead people came to her until she herself turned into a living ghost as everyone she loves refused to stay by her side. This ability drove everyone away, including her family, who decided to migrate to Norway. Since then, she has become reclusive and only talks to her family and friends through phone calls. After hearing her story, Jogu curses Juhi on Yuri's behalf. However, he immediately apologizes after realizing she might come for him next.
Yeah, cursing out a vengeful spirit after befriending the person that she hates the most, that's not a really smart move, especially after the ghost child. This man just never learns.
One day, after chaperoning her to the blind date that he organized himself, he starts to find Yuri attractive. Initially, the blind date seems successful. However, Juhi interferes again and scares the guy away, causing Yuri to feel miserable. Seeing her disheartened state, Jogu comforts her by taking her out on a date. His attraction to her grows and even fantasizes about kissing her, unaware that Yuri wants to kiss him too. Finding himself enjoying her company, Jogu takes her again out for drinks and dinner the next day. Yuri gets drunk and acts out by ripping his shirt again. Luckily, he's learned his lesson and brought a shirt with him.
Or did he really learn his lesson? What he needs to do is buy clothes from a different store. His clothes got ripped twice. What's he waiting for? The third time? Maybe the third time's a charm.
He brings his drunk colleague back home, where the two of them drunkily lay down on his bed. While they're sleeping side by side, Jogu gets awakened by Juhi's spirit, which is frightening him away. Yuri, who is aware of this, covers his eyes as she knows that this will eventually happen. The two of them set up a tent in Jogu's living room, where they peacefully sleep the whole night. Unfortunately, Jogu's girlfriend arrives and sees their state. Unexpectedly, she doesn't lash out despite seeing his boyfriend laying down with another woman, as she is aware of Yuri's situation. She adds that even if Jogu falls for her, he will never be able to handle her horrible situation. After hearing this, Yuri tearfully confides with her friends. She thinks that no man will ever love her, and she will live a miserable life until the day she dies. Fortunately, she's wrong about most of it, as Jogu has fallen in love with her despite the horrors that come with it. The two decided to meet where it all first started, the place where she first caught Jogu's eye and forever changed his life. She discusses her conditions before dating, and he wholeheartedly agrees. To him, missing her and not having her in his life is scarier than having to live with the ghosts.
If your man is not willing to live with the literal ghosts from the past who are set to haunt you for the rest of your life, then find another man. Come on, girl, you can do better than that.
The two become a couple, and being with each other feels like heaven on earth. After seeing that she's slowly regaining her life back, Juhi grows jealous. She is dead set on making her life a living hell, so she begins to attack the person she loves the most, Jogu. While on his way to work, Jogu's taxi gets into a mysterious car accident. He survives, but almost gets into a fatal accident again when a metal sign falls over his head. One wrong move, and both events would have cost his life. Despite that, he remains positive and concludes that those are just accidents. While all of this is happening, Yuri has finally decided to lighten up his house. While decluttering her room, she unexpectedly finds the object that started all of her misfortunes and loneliness, Juhi's necklace. She gets an ominous feeling and rushes to Jogu's show. After seeing that he's in one piece, she sits by the audience area to watch the show she used to participate in. Jogu continues with his usual routine, unaware that Juhi is about to use this to terrorize Yuri again. Juhi captures Yuri and traps her inside a water container. Upon seeing that her life is in danger, Jogu tries to break the glass to set her free. However, Juhi stops him and endangers his life. While Yuri is on the water, she takes out Juhi's necklace to show it to her spirit. The two reminisce about the moments before their death as Yuri puts on the necklace on Juhi's neck. Right after this, the glass breaks. Juhi finally finds peace and sets Yuri free of her revenge. Both of them are admitted to the hospital. However, she only sustains minor injuries, whereas Jogu fell into a coma. Seeing the man she loves almost facing death because of her, Yuri decides to get out of his life and head off to join her family in Norway. In this way, Jogu will remain safe from all the horrors that will come to his life for loving a woman like her. Jogu finally wakes up and doubles his manager's salary just so he would tell her where to find Yuri. Finally, capitalism is playing a good role in bringing two hearts together. Jogu discovers Yuri's plan and follows her to the airport. Thankfully, he's not late and finds her seated in the waiting area. He tries to convince her, but she's already decided to go. Jogu gives it another try and bares his heart to her through the phone. Despite hearing her beloved pour out his whole heart to her, she drops the call and continues to board the plane. She is unaware that Juhi has followed her inside the plane. And no, this is not heading to that usual horror movie trope where the ghost continues to follow her for the rest of her life. Juhi haunts the whole airplane, causing the flight to get canceled.
Here we can see that Juhi has finally forgiven her old friend. She's also trying to make amends for all those years she tormented her and caused loneliness in her life. For once in her life, she wants to make sure that her friend is happy before finding peace for herself.
Upon hearing that the flight is canceled, Jogu sneaks on her and mischievously says that they are still together. Yuri informs him that nothing about her situation has changed. As if on cue, the two of them look at Juhi, who is watching them in the distance. However, Jogu couldn't care less and has overcome this fear. If he has to live in a horror movie to be with Yuri, then so be it. She asks Yuri for a kiss and she gladly obliges. The movie ends with Jogu's manager pestering Juhi to join their show. It seems like she's finally met her match.
Are you a big fan of romantic comedies and want to start watching horror movies for a change? Then this movie is a perfect starter for you. It's not overly scary for you to have nightmares, but frightening enough to make you flinch when watching. But don't worry, the romance and comedy will make up for it, as long as you still find yourself smiling, even after seeing the face of a vengeful ghost. Please subscribe to our channel to be notified when we upload. Also, don't forget to suggest movies you want us to recap in the future in the comments down below.